that's very, very dangerous.
Get these spidey sense, I was like, oh, something's off.
And I'm just like, man, I'm waiting to hear something,
Keep that crowd warmed up. There's history the whole tiger.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the 18th, I believe, episode. We're getting up there. We're almost at the big 2-0. And I appreciate everybody that has been listening. It's been kind of crazy to me. We're at over 2K and we're almost at 2.5K audio listens. So that's, appreciate y'all listening in. This week I've kind of been, working really a lot, honestly. But, one thing that I kind of caught my eye, and I'm going to watch this eventually, but I know that there's that new documentary with, I guess it's David Koresh and the Waco, the FBI Waco thing. That's something I'm looking forward to kind of looking at. I'm gonna go ahead and spill the beans, but I'm really big into Love Is Blind and Perfect Match. Don't ask me why. I guess I like trash TV. It's kind of wild, like with Love Is Blind. It's like, these people are talking to like a wall, but obviously there's someone on the other side, and they have to pick, or they have to choose their match, and then they obviously get engaged and start the road to marriage. And so, the season 4 just dropped on Friday. I'm recording this Sunday morning, and so I've been binge watching the first 5 episodes, and pretty sus. Got some deviant behavior going on. No. I know it's my trash TV that I happened to watch this week, but so earlier this week I had watched a documentary, and it's on TLC, or was. I don't know if it was on Hulu, but it's a TLC show. And I think I believe the name of this documentary was called Taken at Birth, I believe. So in McKaysville, Georgia, there was this doctor back in like the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, who was basically had like an underground abortion / delivery / human trafficking or human type thing, with babies. What had happened is these young mothers or, politicians or whoever, had babies or whatever with, outside of their marriage. They would go to Dr. Hicks, and the woman would have either the abortion or would have the baby. And then Dr. Hicks would sell that baby for $1,000. That was like $1 million back then. And so that documentary tracks down all these hundreds of hundreds of kids, and then trying to track down parents. And, one thing I thought was kind of interesting about some of these kids is, these old, mayors in this kind of McKaysville, Georgia area all had an illegitimate child, or not. I don't want to say illegitimate, outside their marriage child. So I thought that was kind of crazy. I was like, man, that's interesting, man. They must have been getting down back in the 50s and 60s like that. But but it's on Hulu. I think it's called Taken at Birth. It's kind of sad, man. It's really sad. Like growing up and not knowing, who your people are, and where you come from, and and some people found their parents, and their parents were like, no, I still don't want nothing to do with you. I guess, it's kind of a blemish on their life or whatever, but I'd go check it out. It's pretty long. It's got 3 episodes or 4 episodes, but they're like almost 2 hours long. It's like kind of brutal watching, but go check those out. Ever since the last episode I put out, about Kurt Cobain, I've been going back and listening to a lot of Nirvana songs, and I'm gonna give you my top 3 Nirvana songs. And like I said, go check out Kurt Cobain, episode 17, Kurt Cobain. Go into kind of conspiracy, kind of what the official story is, and then I tell you my opinion on it towards the end. So you gotta listen to the whole thing. But I go through, each step of basically the entire process. But my top 3 Nirvana songs, and I mentioned in that episode that a core childhood memory for me growing up was listening to You Know You're Right by Nirvana. I think it was released in 2002. That's my number one song. My number two song is All Apologies. And my number three song is Heart Shaped Box. Now, I know some of y'all probably like, oh, you don't have Teen Spirit in there? No, I don't. I'm tired of that song. I've heard that song a million times. It's like everywhere. I'm good. But let me know, what your top three Nirvana songs are, in the, I guess in the Facebook post, or I'll even have it down. So if you're listening on Spotify, you scroll down a little bit, there'll be a section to where you can, put your top three Nirvana songs. So, kind of moving forward, I've had some people, basically want me to talk about this for a while. I've had multiple people, and this topic can go kind of left quick. Like we can get into a rabbit hole pretty quick. But the topic I'm going to talk about today is clones, or cloning. And this piqued my interest here in the last, I'd say probably 2 months. I read an article, but I also kind of heard this on Joe Rogan's podcast as well. But essentially, and I've talked about this before briefly, but we're going to go into a little bit of more of a deep dive on it. But the article I read was basically that they're trying to bring back woolly mammoths, and they're using Indian elephants as the surrogates, or because they're the closest known relative to a woolly mammoth, and as a surrogate to birth a fully 100% DNA woolly mammoth. And what I read and what I've listened to is that it has implications for conservation. So in the certain part of Siberia, Siberia and Alaska and all these, kind of in that area used to be grasslands, and, full of trees and full of, basically like almost like Africa, like the savannah. And what happened was that when the woolly mammoths started dying off, the atmosphere changed. So what the woolly mammoths would do is they would knock trees down, causing sunlight to be able to hit the grass. And, they have this park. It's called Pleistocene Park. It's up inside. It's like 100 square miles of, Siberian, tundra that they're putting these woolly mammoths back. So what the trees do, how this will work, and basically making that area colder, would be the mammoths would knock the trees down, allowing the ground that has permafrost to refreeze back over, because the tree collects heat, the heat goes down into the roots, and the soil around the trees, become not as cold. Well, in Siberia, there's a lot of trees, and it basically has to do with the environment. Well, what would happen is that the woolly mammoths were, obviously they were driven out. They were, we as humans, kind of got them out of here. And there's a lot of other different kind of environmental things that kind of happen, but we humans are, we're known for getting rid of different things. And so, the woolly mammoth knocks the trees down, allows the ground to refreeze, allowing, other smaller type animals to basically stomp that permafrost down, and eventually to stop global warming is kind of what they're looking at. And, I know people can have opinions on global warming and all that. We're not going to go into that. That's not an avenue I'm going down, but I'm just talking about in terms of the cloning aspect. So that's the reason why they're bringing them back, is to basically refreeze the tundra and allow, more growth of certain populations of different animals. Because, we always talk about, or I always preface that, we're always, like I said, just mentioned, us humans be doing the most sometimes. And so then that took me on like a rabbit hole of what else are they doing. So I come across an article, and they're bringing back Arctic foxes, which I think are extinct. And those are a natural predator for, certain types of marsupials, not marsupials, but type of smaller rabbits, things of that nature. because one thing that is happening in this also kind of leads to Tasmania as well is when there's an over a population, more diseases are able to spread, and so they're cloning this Arctic fox to have a natural predator because they were there, kind of in these Arctic regions all over the world, and placing them, in these kind of designated areas, so then they can lower the prey population. And I mentioned Tasmania, and this is one thing too that kind of is a conspiracy slash kind of cryptid, is the Tasmanian tiger, or that Tasmanian tiger has allegedly been extinct for a lot of, since the 50s or 60s. And people still say they see it running around out there in Tasmania. And so what they want to do, and I think it's not Pleistocene. I cannot think of the name of it. It might be. I might have got those names backwards. Anyways, but the Tasmanian tiger was a known predator for the Tasmanian devil. And some of these jackrabbits and other marsupials that are on, even koalas or wombats, and all these different marsupials that have no natural predator in Tasmania anymore other than themselves. What's happening to wombats is wombats are getting, and essentially in the article that I read, it was just basically herpes. And they were getting, basically herpes or some type of bumps that is spreading through a majority of and which would kill them off eventually. The ones that have it. And it's in, I think they said, a third of the population. And so it's causing a lot of issues for other marsupials because it's transmittable to them. So wombats are getting it. Koalas are getting it. And so they bring them back to Tasmanian tiger. Their goal is to basically create 10,000 Tasmanian tigers, or to clone from this DNA. And cloning's been around for a long time. It's been around since the 90s. I know everyone everyone knows of Dolly the sheep. That's like the OG clone. And then they've done not tigers. They've done dogs and cats, and they've done all these kind of, I don't think they've even done donkeys and cattle. But one thing that's kind of crazy to me that people can do is, like, I think it's like $20,000 is what I read, that you, like, 20,000, 30,000, even 50,000, you can bring your pet back. So if any of y'all want to scrape up some money, there you go. I don't know where to go, but there's the idea if you want to bring back your favorite animal. No, I'm just playing. But, to me, when it comes to cloning, it's man can't undo what man has done. And one thing about cloning that kind of makes me kind of ick is we're bringing back something that's supposed to be gone. I believe that everything has a path, and everything has a journey, and I believe sometimes, obviously different things create a different path, and you have a choice. But when we as man try to play God, and that, to me, that's a problem that's systeming everything in who we are as human beings and people, is we try to play God with things, and we think we know everything, like we think we can control things that are uncontrollable. And that's one thing about the cloning thing. When I'm seeing these articles of all, like woolly mammoths, what if they start bringing back Tyrannosaurus Rex? Like, we've already seen Jurassic World 1, 2, and 3. We know how that goes. And that's one thing that the movies always mimic real life, or real life mimics the movies in some cases too. Is, we start messing around with this DNA and this CRISPR technology, and next thing you know, we got half tiger, half saber-tooth tiger. It's like, now we got like a 1,000-pound animal that's faster than both of them combined. We start playing God, and that's, I think, a lot of the issue with I see, with people in that Dolly situation. So when Dolly first came out, there was a lot of kind of hoopla around that. And it was so much hoopla that, like, a lot of the investors in that sheep basically kind of went away, and the interest went away. And basically cloning up to here in the last, till probably 10 years, that was basically it. They were basically bringing back people's dogs, and that was like the extent of what cloning was. Now they know, now that they're realizing that, hey, this has real world implications. We can change things. And I understand. My opinion is, I understand that we can do that. Like, hey, we can bring back the Tasmanian tiger. We can bring back the woolly mammoth, the Arctic fox. Another one I thought I saw was, maybe even passenger pigeons. They just disappeared. Like, they just went extinct, like overnight, basically, due to hunting. Or, we bring back the bison, or bring it back, but, make more of them. And so, to me, I think things are already, like, once you open that can of worms, it can be anything. We can start cloning humans. And as I, kind of say that, people believe, and like, in Hollywood especially, you see different pictures of people, what they've looked like a year before, and they don't look the same, or they have mismatching facial features. And this is where the conspiracy comes in. If you guys wanted to know that part, I know there's a meme going around about Joe Biden, how he looked like 4 years ago, and now how he looks now. He don't look nothing like he did. I ain't gonna say nothing, but I am saying something about he ain't look the same. And you look at these different, and maybe it could be plastic surgery. Some people say that, but like, one kind of crazy conspiracy about cloning is, or someone looking like someone else, is that Avril Lavigne conspiracy. And then Avril Lavigne was basically, after Skater Girl she was let go, or she was made not here anymore, and a clone took her spot. And that's why, if you remember, she had all this angsty type music. Then all of a sudden it kind of went to the sad stuff, piano, and this was a different musical vibe. And people always say, there's all these different, like, pictures of her when she was a skater girl, skater boy version. Now you got like the grown up, more kind of adult version, and she doesn't look quite the same. Even Avril Lavigne even said, "Yeah, I'm really dead." So it's kind of crazy that people do that. And another kind of clone type conspiracy is that Paul McCartney passed away in a car accident, and they had to bring someone back, or had to bring someone around that looked just like him. Basically had to clone him, is what they say. Now, I don't know, it could be a clone, it could be a lookalike, it could be plastic surgery, but I always say this, and I know people, that I've talked to who've been in these types of realms, is they say that the military and our government is like 100 years ahead of us in terms of technology. So how do we not know that, hey, let's not shake things up with the Beatles, let's make sure that they're right, and that Paul McCartney is still there. And him and I think Ringo are the only ones left. So, like I said, there's just kind of interesting conspiracies about that. They always talk about Michael, that he had to change his appearance and all this, that he could have been a clone. I'm trying to think of some other ones here, but anyways, but yeah, that whole cloning thing is just kind of a crazy conspiracy. And I know there's probably a lot that I'm missing when it comes to that, but like, I know in Hollywood, they always talk about the black eye. Like, that's how it kind of, brings you into the know, essentially. And so, if you ever go look that up, type in celebrities with black eyes or with a black eye on Google, and you'll find that there's all these celebrities that have had that, and they say that could be part of that cloning. Another crazy conspiracy, and this one is like left field. This is a deep dive. So back in the 80s or early 90s, I can't remember exactly what time frame this was, but there was a guy, and he only went by John. He was allegedly, he came out and said he was a clone, and he was the one that wrote all the rock hits, and he was into satanic type stuff. But he said he was a clone, and that they would do things to him in his clones because he said that the clones could still feel, they could all feel each other's pain because they would do something. I don't know, like, I'm not going to go into the deep dive on that part, but they all could feel each other's pain or some semblance of pain. And allegedly, he said that he had written Smells Like Teen Spirit, which is a Nirvana song, Black Hole Sun, that was a Soundgarden song, and that he actually sang those lyrics, and that he basically, every time that he would not do what they wanted him to do, he would be like, they would replace him with his clone. And you'll have to go look this up, but I believe I can't remember the guy's last name for the life of me, but he's been on YouTube, and he may have been taken off YouTube because it was some crazy stuff he was saying. I mean, some of those hair metal band songs that he had played back, he had written, basically done everything, guitar, that like every time that they would take him away and bring another him in, he would be more talented, or he would have like the ability to play, piano or whatever. So that's all things that you guys can look up. Like just, you could search it. Like I said, I can't remember if it's John something, but just, you could type in anything and try to find it. On YouTube or anything, because I remember the last time I seen it, there was a picture of him, and then it had like a record player playing, and I can't remember. I know he talked about satanic kind of occult worship and things like that in the music industry, and that you play stuff backwards. I know that's been out there for a while, but yeah, I just thought it was kind of crazy that like people are out here saying things. I mean, even was it Kid Boo or Lil Boo or whoever said that he was a clone, and that if he didn't do what they asked him to do, they would just basically replace him. And he said that on Vlad TV, I believe. So you just never know. You just never know about things. It's just kind of crazy what you hear and what people decide to believe, and what's actually true. Because one thing that I always try to stay open minded. I always ask questions, but I don't always disbelieve things. That's just how I've always been. I believe it to a certain extent, but like I'm not saying I believe everything, but there's just like it might be something. You never know. But I appreciate you guys listening to this episode. I know, like I said, you can go deep, deep, deep with clones. And, one thing that I try not to do is I want to just give you guys base level of what's going on or what topic I'm talking about. Deep dives are, for things that, that can't get you, make you look like a crazy person. Like, I just find these things interesting. Over the course of my life, I've always, read things and, seen videos on this, and I'm just like, that's kind of curious, But let me know, like I said, in the, if you listen to this on Spotify, let me know, you just scroll down or scroll up, and there'll be like, let me know if you believe any, the cloning conspiracy, or if you don't. I'm curious to see what you guys answer to, but you can catch me on TikTok, One Man Band 918, Facebook, Yehola Tiger. You can find me on Twitter as well, One Man Band 918. And also, too, guys, I haven't really been posting to YouTube. I've done a few things, but I appreciate everybody that goes over there and listens to the podcast and some of the content. Sometimes I'll post videos or shorts on there. But I appreciate you guys listening in. I'll catch you on the next one.